are we doing, Kevin?
We're going to do some experimental archaeology now.
What does that entail today?
Today we're going to go and dig up some Chlorogonum pomeridianum. I think I got that right. And
Otherwise known as
Soaproot, and it is in the asparagus family, and it grows in southern Oregon and throughout California.
Oh, we should say where we are.
Oh, we are in Oregon. We are near Grants Pass.
Get a fresh one now. Wow. Oh my gosh.
This is one of those ones.
That's insane.
Separate.
Whoa.
Like, so ethnographically what people would do is you can harvest these in the spring when it's still wet. You know, try to, like, these are probably going to set seed. People would like knock seeds into the hole as they were digging them up. And what we're doing is digging them up, and we have more than one bulb. We're separating the bulbs and leaving some here to keep propagating itself. And what people would do in the past is, you know, torch fields like this during the times of year when the grasses and other plants that are competing with what they want to eat are going to set seed. So you sort of favor the plants that you want by burning during a particular season, and then of course, like, you know, propagating them as you dig them up. So like places like this, we're probably on the edge of a remnant, you know, sort of cultivated prairie full of these plants. So for some groups in the West Coast, these were like almost a primary food source. For other people, they weren't crazy about them, so this was sort of like backup food or famine food.
So apart from the fact that these things are edible, what other uses might they have had?
Well, the root, when you cook it, it's breaking down the chemicals that give it its name, Soaproot. So you can actually make soap from the sort of exudate coming out of the bulb, right? And so that's where you're cooking out when you slow roast it. And it's a relatively mild poison to humans. It's extremely bitter, but it's a fish poison, so it'll kill gilled creatures very easily. So people could use it for three purposes: food, fiber, and fish poison. It's just a baby. In a lot of native accounts of how various plants became domesticated, and like most of the food plants in the world were domesticated in the New World. Which sounds crazy, but it's like, it's ridiculous how many plants got domesticated here. And, you know, this I'd call like a semi-domesticate, because it's got, you know, people are propagating it and creating habitat for it and sort of making a home for it in the same way that we do other things. But, you know, it's like who decided that, oh, if I like cook this fish poison long enough, it'll be sweet and delicious. But the stories that get handed down about how that happened is usually the plant just tells people, you know, the plant comes to somebody and was like, hey, eat me, here's what you do. And it's like, there's a guy named Stephen Herod Buhner, and he had a book on basically how to talk to plants, because he'd gone around and, you know, spoken with herbalists and various, you know, cultures around the world trying to learn what they learned. And, you know, invariably when he asked them, like, how did you know this plant worked for this ailment or the other, and they would always tell him, well, the plant told me. And so rather than challenge that, what became a challenge for him was to find out how one speaks to plants, or at least how one listens. Oh, you know, like that's kind of the trick, I guess. Maybe when it kills fish and you know, soaks up the water, that tells you something too. But I don't know how you go from there to I'm gonna make a tamale out of it. Yeah, so I'm gonna cut the tops off, and we're gonna dry these to make the cordage to tie the handles. So now we have our fiber, we have stuff for cordage, we have a bowl of roots, and they're making soap for us. So we're going to take some of these and we're going to cook them and mash them and make glue, which we're going to use to make the handles. We're going to dry these out and wrap them around the base, and then we have to wash and separate these fibers, and we'll make little brushes out of them. It'll be just delightful. All right, so in lieu of digging a giant hole and building a fire in it and pit roasting these things in wet grass, we are putting them in a Dutch oven and adding some water to substitute for our wet grass. And we will be sticking it in an oven So we have slow roasted this in a Dutch oven by turning it to like 350 and leaving it for a while and letting it cool, and turning it to 350 and leaving it for a while, letting it cool, because we don't have a pit roasting opportunity here. And we have our caramelized soaproot sitting here, and theoretically the way we eat these is we just peel off the layers and you eat it like an artichoke. All right.
What's the verdict, Kevin?
It's interesting. It has a sort of a caramelized, starchy quality to it. It's sticky. Kind of soapy. Yeah, the more burnt side tastes better.
I mean, you keep going back in for more, so that's definitely saying something. You like it, just admit it.
Okay, I like it. I like it, but it's already making my stomach rumble, so, you know, this could be bad. Things together to make longer things, and then twist those things with other things to make sure they don't come apart later. But we just need something loose to bind that stuff together.
So I think this is day 6 of Soaproot preparation. We were finally getting around to making the glue. We've added water to the roasted Soaproot bulbs, and now we're going to make a glue that is the consistency of pancake batter?
Pancake batter, yeah.
Okay, going for pancake batter.
Very gluey now. In addition to root crops like soaproot, one of the most popular foods in California prior to European invasion was the acorn. And the soaproot brushes that we made are an important implement when it comes to preparing those kinds of foods. Oftentimes acorns would be pounded with a mortar and pestle into a flour, and brushes like this were necessary to both clean up that mortar and pestle as well as to sort of sweep up the flour in order to form it into cakes or doughs or for other sorts of food processing. I'm seated in the midst of an oak grove right now, and conveniently this oak habitat is also one that Soaproot favors as well. So the kinds of raw materials necessary to prepare the acorns coming from these oak trees are sitting around waiting to be made into useful tools to help prepare that food later.